Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. So in today's video I'm going to be building this little tiny suburban house. Now recently I've been just wanting to build so many different types of suburban houses, and I thought it would be a really cool idea just to do a tiny house which is also a suburban house, and so that is exactly what I did today. So I'm actually building on the 20 by 15 lot that's in Willow Creek. Now normally whenever I build on 20 by 15s I always go to the same lot which is in Newcrest, but today I decided to mix it up a little bit and I actually built this on the Willow Creek lot. So I'm not sure what it's called, but you can see the name in the top left corner. Now this house is incredibly small. It's only available for one sim to live here. I wasn't able to get a double bed in. When I was actually going in and actually started furnishing the house, I knew that if I was to put a double bed in, it would just take up so much space, and so I just decided to just give it a single bed, so only one sim can live in here, and kind of like the little single bed. But I was kind of thinking when I was building this that maybe this could be a teenager's first house, because some of the decorations and just some of the items that I put inside kind of resemble something that maybe a teenager would have. So I was kind of thinking maybe you've got a teenager that's just aged up into a young adult, and maybe you need somewhere for them to live or something, and so I feel like this would be a perfect house in that kind of scenario. So as you can kind of see, I'm already going in and doing the landscaping, so there isn't actually a lot of landscaping in this build. I did a lot of trees around the back of the house, but I do actually cut the majority of that out just because I felt like it was a little bit boring me just going in and just placing loads of different trees here and there. But we do just have this big flower bed at the very front of the house, just in front of these windows. I use the Seasons windows, by the way, and I use them in the majority of my houses, but I also mixed it with the strange reveal door. Now originally I actually built this on a medium wall height, but then when I was actually going in and just started furnishing, it just looked a little bit strange how tall the walls were, so I actually decided to change it to a small wall height, but you'll see that in a little while. But now I am just going in and selecting a car from my little saved room. So if you don't know what this is, I feel like I speak about it in the majority of my videos, but a really long time ago I went into the game and I made separate little rooms of all the debug clutter that I normally tend to use, and then I just saved them to my library, and then that way you don't actually have to turn on the debug cheat every time that you want to use maybe one or two debug menu items. It's really easy. And when we actually got the world update, I actually did one for cars as well. Although we can't actually drive these cars, or your sims can't drive these cars, I still like the bit of realism, so it actually looks like your sim can. And these are actually the cars that drive around the world, and so that's actually why they were in the world debug menu. I really hope that one day we can actually get real cars that your sims can actually interact with and get in. I know that we do actually have a closed world, but if you actually look back onto previous Sims games like The Sims 2, that was also a closed world, and your sims just had a really nice animation of them getting into the car and then driving off the lot. You don't actually see them go anywhere, obviously, because it was a closed world, but it was still a nice little animation and it made it feel a little bit more realistic. I'm one of the people that really wants cars, so hopefully that we can get them one day. It will just make a lot more sense to when you're building, because I build a lot of garages in the game, and I don't know, it just feels like it will make a lot more sense to me. But now I am actually going in, and I actually left the wallpapering and flooring in for this build just because it was actually a really quick process. Normally it takes me a really long time to choose which ones I wanted, but where it was such a small house, I knew that I wanted something very light and bright, just because if I would have had dark wallpaper, say if I would have had a red wall and a really dark wooden floor, I knew then it would make the space look smaller than it was. And so by actually putting in white wallpaper and really light flooring, it kind of just maximizes the space. Although it's actually the same size, it just makes it look a little bit more bigger. But now I have actually started furnishing the inside of this house, and I actually started off with the bedroom area because I wanted to make sure that there was definitely somewhere for your sim to sleep in this house. And so I actually just placed a little single bed down first. I can't remember where that bed is from, but I remember when I was actually picking out which single bed to use, I was actually having a little bit of a struggle because there wasn't any beds that kind of would be suitable for a young adult in my opinion, and so I decided to go for this one. And that's kind of when I had the idea that maybe a teenager who's just aged up to a young adult could possibly live here. I don't know, this bed seems a little bit childlike to me. Although it's a really lovely bed, I just kind of would like some more single beds that are more appropriate for young adults. We do actually have one in Cats and Dogs, which comes in some really nice plain swatches, but I just didn't really like the colour of the woods on them ones, because we had like dark wood bed frames and all these different ones, and I wanted a white bed frame, and so I just ended up going with this one. I think this one might be from a City Living, but I could be completely wrong. I just can't think of where the top of my head where this one's from. I also do have a little bedside table though, and I wanted to go with this one, which I can't remember where this one is from as well, but with this one it actually looks like it's got a load of books and just general clutter in the bedside table. where I was thinking that this house is really small, the sim that lives here probably wants to maximize the space as much as they can, and so that's kind of why I chose that bedside table. We also do have a tall wardrobe in the corner as well, and then in between that we do actually have a little desk area, so that is kind of the main entertainment area and probably the main kind of gameplay area in this house. So we do just have a little, I called it the freelancers desk because it's the desk that we got with the freelancers update, and then we also have a computer on the desk as well. The computer is from City Living, and then I also do clutter it up with some flowers which are from Cool Kitchen Stuff, and then some magazines that we've got with the latest stuff pack, and just general clutter to make it look a little bit more realistic. I also do add a little rug to kind of like the bedroom area and the desk area, just because I wanted it to feel a little bit sectioned, but I didn't actually want to cut it off with any dividers or anything, and I feel like adding a rug there kind of did that in a way. But moving on, I've just started furnishing the kitchen area of this house. So in the kitchen I went for all of the Parenthood counters, the Parenthood stove, and also the Parenthood fridge. They were all kind of in the same collection, and they come in this really beautiful kind of really bright and light swatch. And so where I was doing it quite a light kind of theme in this room, I decided that these ones would be perfect. I also used a Parenthood tile as kind of like a backsplash to kind of separate the white wallpaper from the really white counters, and then I also did use a little base game table in the middle and then paired them with some chairs which I believe are from Cats and Dogs, and then I also put some sunflowers on there as well, and that's just kind of like the little dining room area. Now I'm actually moving over and doing this little bookcase area. Now I did actually cut it out, but I was originally putting a corner sofa that we got from, or not a corner sofa, one of them sofas that we got from Cats and Dogs that you can kind of put into a weird shaped room, but it just really wasn't working, and I spent a really long time trying to make it work, and so I decided just to cut it out and put a little bookcase there instead. And then we do just have a little single armchair as well, so there is actually no TV in this house, but I feel like with the computer you've got the gameplay aspect there. But now I am just moving over to just kind of like the little hallway area as soon as your Sims walk in through the front door. I just put a little single bedside table here, and then I just cluttered that bedside table up with some kind of posts and some plants and some picture frames, just to kind of make it look like there's somewhere for your Sims to throw down their keys and throw down their bills that they need to pay and all that kind of stuff when they walk in through the front door. But now I'm moving on and I've started furnishing the bathroom. So the bathroom is actually a really small little room. It's a 2x2 little room, and I really wanted it to be a full bathroom, but with the way that it was just floor planned, I just could not make it work. So in the end, there's actually only this shower and this toilet in here. The toilet is from Cats and Dogs, and then the shower is from Fitness Stuff, but there is actually a little sink in kind of like the kitchen area. So when I was playtesting this house, your Sims would, or the Sim that I was playtesting would go to the toilet and then they'd just walk straight through the house and go and wash their hands in the kitchen. I know it's not very ideal, but I just could not make it work with the floor plan. But now I'm actually moving back to the outside of the house, and I'm just going to go in and make a few final touches. So I do actually add a foundation here. I knew that I wanted this house to have a foundation, but for some reason when I was originally doing the exterior, when I was doing the landscaping, I just completely forgot to add one. So I made sure that I added one when I came back and just kind of added some mailboxes, some bins, and then this is also where I switch up a few of the landscaping items. That tall tree I actually switch out to be one of the kind of shorter kind of stubbier trees. I just prefer the look of that one. I felt like the one that I originally picked was just a little bit too big. But I'm going to finish off this build by just going around and adding a few more plants and a few more trees at just the exterior of the build, just to give it a nicer street appeal. I am also going to add a little seating area just in front of this tree at the front of the house. But anyway guys, I am actually going to end this voice over here. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed watching me build this little tiny suburban home, and as always, if you do like my content, then please subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys.